Hi there. Today we're going to be talking about interviewing out-of-town agents for your clients when you're going to give them as a referral. But first, I just want to touch on why it is so important as the listing agent for you to make sure that the financing section of the purchase offer is completely filled out by the buyer's agent. So in this case, we're going to be putting on our hat as the listing agent. We are representing the seller, and we receive an offer. And I know you've received them before where absolutely nothing is filled out in the financing section. We don't know what interest rate, we don't know what type of loan, we don't know anything. We know the purchase offer price, and that's it. So as a listing agent, it is very, very important for you to make sure you push back on that and you ask the buyer's agent to fully fill out the purchase agreement financing section. Now, most often, they are submitting a pre-qualification or a pre-approval letter with their offer. And you could look at that and look and see what style of loan they're doing, what their down payment's going to be, what their interest rate is, who the lender is. But I will caution you to just accepting that as proof of what style of loan they're doing, because that pre-approval letter and pre-qualification letter has not been made part of the purchase agreement. So, and I've never seen this happen unless they're checking a box on page 1 of the purchase agreement and including that as an item of as an addendum on that purchase offer. It is not part of the contract. And since it's not part of the contract, they're not bound to stay to the terms in that pre-approval or pre-qualification letter. The financing section of the purchase agreement is where we specifically, as the buyer's agent, detail what type of loan, how much down payment, what interest rate will be acceptable to our buyer, and over how many years with how many loan discount points. That is all critical information for the seller to make a decision in this market. Now, in another market where houses are on the market for 120 days before they sell, the seller might say, I don't care. You just come to the closing, bring whatever type of money you want to bring. We're just excited to have an offer. You know, that's not the market we're in right now. The market we're in right now, which is called a seller's market because the seller is driving the bus. The seller's market means that the seller has multiple choices as to who they would like to gift their house to. So the seller is going to be very, very discerning about which offer is going to be best for them. So as a buyer's agent, it is in your best interest to firm up that financing section, fill it all out. If you need help filling it out, call me or come to our training class that is on filling out the financing terms on the purchase offer. So as a buyer's agent, you're getting all of that information, yes, from your buyer, but mostly from the lender. There is nothing wrong with you calling the lender with your buyer's permission as the buyer's agent and asking what terms are going to be eligible for this buyer. When you fill all of that out, as a buyer's agent, it is very common for you to put some language in there like the above financing terms may be changed so long as it does not affect the seller's net being how much money the seller's going to get. We're starting to see listing agents push back on that and say, nope, you put in what financing terms you're going to use, and then that's what we're using all the way to closing. The listing agents are getting burned because they are accepting a conventional loan, and then the buyer is choosing to switch to FHA 2 weeks in because they could use less of a down payment. Well, that's not what the seller said they'd like to accept. Perhaps they turned down 2 or 3 other FHA loans. Perhaps they turned down an FHA buyer who was offering more money for the house and chose this buyer because they were doing a conventional loan. So we're starting to see sellers and listing agents pushing back on that and saying, we don't want any of that, those shenanigans about you being able to change the terms. My advice to my buyer's agents right now, or see if you can just firm up that language so that it says something like, buyer reserves the right to change the above financing terms, but not the style of the loan, so long as it does not affect the seller's net. So if they say they're going conventional, they're going conventional. If they want to change their down payment, fine. If they want to change their interest rate, fine. That's fine. But you said conventional, we're staying conventional. So if you need help with that, or you want to change that language slightly, just let me know and I can send you that language. Now, as a listing agent, I am not liking that language for the reasons I just explained. As a listing agent, my seller is perhaps choosing your offer because of the financing terms. So first of all, I've got to know what the financing terms are, or I can't advise my seller. And if as a listing agent, I have 6 offers I'm presenting, 2 are FHA, one's VHDA, one's conventional, and one is USDA. All of those are viable loan options. All of those are viable buyers. My seller and I are going to have a discussion about where the hierarchy is between those offers. And we're going to be taking lots of things into consideration: loan type, closing date, down payment size, whether the buyer is asking for closing costs or not. As a buyer's agent, you can strengthen your buyer's chance of getting the contract if you fully fill out the financing terms, because now there are no questions. Your offer as the buyer's agent is not getting set to the side and the listing agent saying, I'll call that agent and see if I can find out what even type of loan they're going to do, what their down payment size is going to be. So instead, fill it all out as the buyer's agent, submit it to the seller, and as the listing agent, make sure all those terms are there. Anybody have any questions about that or financing terms? I don't want to have buyer's agents painting their buyers into a corner, but gone are the days where buyers can be loosey-goosey with their financing terms and, figure it out later. Sellers are not, and listing agents are not taking those offers now. Anybody have anything to add or any questions about that? Okay. I taught it so well. Y'all are up to speed. Okay, then let's move on to interviewing out-of-town agents for your clients. So I'm going to use myself as an example. I was very proud of myself this week, y'all, because I have some clients. They have purchased a home here in town. They let me know they were also interested in purchasing a second home in Florida. Well, when they told me that, and I only found that out because I was just building rapport and getting to know them. Okay. When they put an offer on a property here, I said, is this going to be your primary dwelling? Is this where you guys are going to live? And they said, well, for probably about 3/4 of our time, maybe half of our time, but we're actually going to be shopping for a home in Florida as well. Ding, ding, ding. My radar went up. They are now going to be trying to find a realtor in Florida and know no one. Well, I offered my services to them and said, would you like for me to see if through my channels, I can find a realtor who I think would be a good fit for you in Florida, in the particular area where they were wanting to look? And they said, oh my gosh, Ashley, that'd be great. So here's what I did. Keep in mind, at the tail end of this process, I asked for a 25% referral fee from the Florida agent, and she was happy to give it. Happy to receive my clients who are just terrific people. Very wonderful clients to work with. So I really, obviously any client I have, I want to take very special care of. And I want to make sure they're with an agent that not only is a good agent, but would be a good fit for my client. My clients are all different. As a realtor, it's my job to customize and tailor the experience to my client. If they're a client who wants rapid communication, I'm going to make sure I do that. If they're a client who, they just say, Ashley, you're the professional. You just let me know when you need something. Otherwise, I don't expect to hear from you. I'm going to take that into consideration as well. And those are all questions I'm asking my client. So I know my client. I know what their style is and what their preferences are. So I'm going to interview an agent in Florida that is going to meet their needs. So what I did in order to do this, and it was very successful. I love the agent I ended up picking for them. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get on some big social media realtor only groups. And I went on a huge one in Facebook. And when I went into that private group, I searched for the area of Florida in which my clients are hoping to find a second home. What I discovered was a post from this past February that said, where my, Panama City peeps at. Okay, that wasn't the area of Florida, but that's what it said. And under that was about 15 comments where agents were commenting or tagging an agent they knew in that area. So that was my starting point. I ended up deep diving on every one of the agents that were referenced in that comment section. And what I was looking for was I was looking for their social media profiles. How engaged were they? Were they active on their social media platforms? I was looking for at their Zillow and Realtor.com profiles. Had they fully filled out their profiles? There was one agent who had been tagged in that comment section. They had never claimed their free Realtor.com or their free Zillow Realtor profile. So that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I know that my clients are buying a house remotely. So because they can't go to Florida and pick their house, they're going to need an agent who is very savvy with technology, able to, live stream the properties to my clients. And so I'm just making an executive decision that an agent who has not filled out their profiles on Realtor.com and Zillow and uploaded their headshot and made sure their contact information is correct and claimed their sales, an agent who has not done that, I'm going to assume is not going to give the level of technological support that my clients are going to need. Again, that's no comment on how great of an agent they are. It's just, I know one of the needs of my specific client is they need somebody technologically savvy. So those agents were out. If they had not filled out their Zillow and Realtor.com profiles, they did not have a robust social media presence. They weren't totally out, but they were falling further down in my hierarchy of desirable agents. So then when I finally found one through that process that had a great profile on all of those platforms, I made sure she or he had at least 5 reviews on the platforms. That's another great indicator that people had such a great experience with this agent that they went out of their way to leave a review, or it indicates that this agent is so engaged in their business, they are asking for reviews once they have closed out a transaction. Both of those, thumbs up for me. So once I read the reviews, I felt confident to call this particular agent named Jody. And then I just introduced myself, and I'll tell you, I called her, I got her voicemail. You call me from an unknown number, you're probably getting my voicemail. I was complaining this week that I used to answer every unknown call and get excited about every unknown call because I knew it might be somebody interested in real estate. I don't feel that way anymore. It is going to be spam. So, spam is out of control when real estate agents aren't answering unknown calls, and I hope the FTC will crack down on that, because I'd like to get back to being excited about unknown numbers, right? And spammers spoofing the area code so that you think it's a local person calling you. I mean, that is the devil's work, y'all. There's a special place for those people. So she bumped me to voicemail. That is exactly what I thought would happen. So I followed up immediately with a text message. Hey, Jody, this is Ashley. I'm a realtor in Roanoke. I saw you recommended on XYZ private Facebook group, and I'd love to talk to you about referring a client to you. She called me immediately. Now, I get the spam text messages. Hey, do you have time for 5 to 10 buyer leads per month? If so, call us. That's also not something I'm going to respond to. So I made sure I referenced where I found her and that I had a client to refer to her, one client. I don't have 5 to 10 leads per month to give her. I have one client to give her. She called me right back. We had a great conversation, and I was just straight with her and said, listen, this is what's happening. I have these clients. They're getting ready to close on a property here in beautiful Roanoke, Virginia. They want to also have a Florida property. They are so special to me. Would you be okay with me interviewing you first? That is also a test. If she's not interested in that, I'm not interested in using her. So she immediately said, oh, absolutely, sure. And I'd be honored to take care of your clients for you. All of this is going in the thumbs up column for me. Okay. So the questions I asked her were, how many years have you been an agent? Now, she'd been an agent 7 years. Great. I asked her what she loved about her broker. And she said that she can call her broker anytime, and her broker calls her back and gives her answers about things. That is important to me because it indicates to me that this is an agent who isn't guessing. This is an agent who has broker support and is reaching out to her broker when she has questions, especially for someone who's been in the business less than 10 years. If something funky comes up, like a shared well or doc permits, I want to know they have resources available to them and they are willing to ask. I don't particularly want to give my clients to an agent who doesn't think they need any help. Okay. Obviously, I'm biased because I'm your broker and I want you to ask me, but that's important to me that number one, she has broker support. And number two, she likes that she has broker support. So again, everything in the thumbs up column. Then I'm going to ask how many sales they closed last year. Now, I know that Zillow is reporting that she closed 12 sales last year. Okay. I also understand that Zillow, that's an ish number, 12-ish sales. It usually is not less than that, but most of the time it's more than that. Because sometimes if there's co-listing agents, it's not necessarily going to report reliably. So really I'm asking her, and I just want to, it's whatever number I'm comfortable with. I'm probably not comfortable with giving my clients to someone who closed one transaction, but I'm definitely interested in 5 to 7 transactions last year. And obviously anything above that, I'm interested in that as well. But if they tell me they closed 32 transactions last year, I'm going to have some follow-up questions. Oh my gosh, that is amazing. Are you part of a team? Because I, again, am an investigator. I'm trying to figure out if she says, yes, I'm part of a team. Well, first, if she says, no, I'm not part of a team, I'm saying, how in the world are you managing that much? That's amazing. I'm super impressed. But if she says, yes, I'm part of a team, then my follow-up questions are, oh, great. Well, would you be meeting our clients at the homes? Would you be meeting our clients to write the offer? And if the agent says, no, I have a buyer specialist or whatever, that may be fine with me, but I at least want to know, because when I go back and report to my client and I tell them, oh my gosh, I found you the most amazing agent, and then they never meet her, that's not going to look like I've done my homework. So I'm going to ask those follow-up questions depending on what her answers are. And then I'm going to ask if they mind sending me a weekly update. Okay. I know that may sound weird, but I gave a referral out to San Francisco. That sister of my friend ended up buying a $1.2 million property, and she did not use the realtor I referred to her. Now, it was by a friend of a friend realtor that I hooked her up with, but that agent never gave me updates and never provided me any feedback. And of course, ultimately, I found out that that was how she was treating the client as well. And my client used someone else. I did not get a referral fee on a $1.2 million sale. Just letting you know. That stunk, but I learned some lessons from that. And so now that question is on my interview list. Would you be willing to send me an update once a week? I don't care if it's just you forwarding, an email you've sent to everyone, all to the buyers. I don't care if it's just a quick text message that says, put offers on 2 properties this week. We'll keep trying next week. I don't care what kind of update it is. I just want to know you're still alive and well, and you are still communicating with our clients. That's all. And if they're hesitant to do that, or they say, no, thanks. I don't need you interfering. Maybe that's not the agent I'm going to refer them to. My comfort level is I want an agent who wants to have a professional rapport back and forth. And in fact, this agent immediately was like, hey, do you mind, friend requesting me on Facebook? We can network. Maybe I'll have somebody coming up to, Southwest Virginia. Great. I'm happy to network. I'm happy to Facebook friend you. And we did that. So I'm going to open it up now. See if you guys have any questions about that. Also, here's the happy ending. She spoke to them yesterday. She live streamed them a house last night, and they're writing an offer this morning. So I have not gotten the referral form to her yet. Let that be my lesson to you. Lock that stuff down, y'all. Send them the referral form. So I certainly feel like I built a rapport with her that she's not going to stiff me, but I'm certainly going to get her that referral form today. So I'm super glad they found one that quickly. Apparently that market is moving like lightning too. So, we'll see how it goes, but it had a happy ending. All right. Who has questions? Who has something to share? Please. All right, people, y'all need more coffee next time. Okay. Then we're moving on. Okay. So now we're going to talk about helpers in your business. Everybody thinks that you have to be this island and you have to do it all on your own until you reach that next level. Okay. I thought that too. I thought, I'm doing 7 transactions a year. I can handle it. I'm not needing assistance. And then before you know it, really honestly, you're covered up from time to time. The first thing I outsourced was professional photography. And what I had to do is I had to make a decision for myself that I was going to do professional photography. I was going to hire out professional photography on every single listing, regardless of the price point. If I got an $85,000 house, I was still going to hire, a $200 professional photographer. And that may sound exorbitant for an $85,000 house, but what it was doing is it was removing from me the back and forth about should I, shouldn't I, shouldn't I, is my camera even charged? I've got to get the pictures quickly. They didn't turn out great. I went at the wrong time of day. They all look a little dark. And of course, y'all, there was a transitional period here where I was toggling back and forth and making the decision based on the property as to whether I was going to go to that expense or not. And finally, I just told Jennifer and Donna, I was like, I'm done. It is professional photography, regardless of the price point, regardless of how quickly it needs to be on the market, regardless of the circumstances. I'm just going to go ahead and make that decision, that business decision, and I'm going to stick with it no matter what, even if I think that house is going to sell in 12 hours. Okay. I'm still going to do the professional photography. So an additional thing I promised myself, and this is going to sound silly in this market, but it'll make sense in other markets. If the house is on the market for 6 months, I'm paying for new professional photography. So even if I do a 1-year listing, and I know that sounds bonkers to anybody who hasn't been in this very long, but we will come back to a time where listing agreements are for 1 year, and you're going to need that whole year to get the house sold. We will come back to that market at some point. But at the 6-month mark, it is a business decision on my part to retake all of the photos. And I asked the photographer to take them from different angles. I want it to look like a fresh property. I want it to just, if that property's been on the market and been showing up on Realtor and Zillow and the MLS for months, even just reshuffling the order of the photos can freshen it up to everybody's subconscious. So it's important to not just let your listing look stale or to leave your photos stale. So those are business decisions that I just went ahead and made for myself. And I just decided that's it. That's what I'm doing every single time. Doesn't matter. That was the first thing I hired out or outsourced. It has been a huge relief to me. I do still make an executive decision depending on the listing as to whether I'm going to do drone photography or not. That is still a case-by-case decision I'm making. Sometimes drone photography is a bad idea. Sometimes it may show that the house is crammed into a subdivision with 47 other homes. That may not be what I'm trying to showcase. So, professional photographers, easy one. An assistant. A live, living and breathing assistant. That comes with a lot of rules and regulations and a lot of tax implications. So if you have thought that you might like to hire an assistant, please reach out to me. The Virginia Real Estate Board is very clear that would be an employee, and you would need to do FICA and payroll, and I would be responsible for them because I'm responsible for you. So if you are looking to hire an assistant, please reach out to me first. We've got to have a conversation about that and what that looks like and what you can do and can't do, and who it is better to hire or not hire. On the heels of that is a virtual assistant, and Jess is on the call with us now, and she is a virtual assistant and owns a virtual assistant company. And I will tell you the benefits of hiring a virtual assistant is obviously you don't have to pay for office space for them, but more critically, when you hire a virtual assistant, you are hiring a company. You are hiring an LLC company to use their services. That is no different than hiring a photography company who has an LLC. So you are choosing to use a vendor to provide you services that does not make them a payrolled employee, that does not make any tax implications for you, the agent, for using their services. So again, if you're looking to hire a virtual assistant, Jess and her company obviously is an obvious choice. Anything from social media but keep in mind, the agent and the broker are ultimately responsible for anything on social media. It does not matter. It is not a safety net to say, oh, I'm sorry, like this virtual assistant did that. No, we are ultimately responsible for everything on our page. Okay. So, but they can help with social media. They can help with email triage, getting in there and just, putting stars next to the things that are most critical or most important. They can make they can get on Canva and make your flyers for you. Jess is helping me right now where I have agents who would like to work open houses on my listings. That's phenomenal. Jess and I are working on some resources where if you decide you want to work an open house for me, all I have to do is tell Jess, Priscilla's working an open house on 123 Main Street this Sunday from 1 to 4. And Jess then will turnkey make Priscilla a flyer that she can put in the home and hand out to visitors. She can send Priscilla an open house sign-in sheet. She can make social media posts that will then be posted to my page that Priscilla can share and can be shared from my business page to the Wainwright Facebook group, to my personal page, to any sort of yard sale pages on Facebook to showcase that the open house is happening. And it'll just be turnkey. All I have to now tell Jess will be, Priscilla, Sunday 1 to 4, this address. And Jess is going to churn out those materials and provide them to Priscilla. And then I'm going to go on the MLS and register the open house. Way easier for me. That is a very functional use of a virtual assistant. And even if you're going to work your own open house, maybe I say, Jess, I'm working the open house Sunday 1 to 3 on my new listing at so-and-so. Jess is going to be able to, the virtual assistant is going to be able to churn all those materials out for you, have them ready to go. It is still your responsibility, the agent's responsibility, to make sure that proper disclosures are on all materials that the public will see. But again, this is where I can't stress enough having processes in place. If you have those templates provided to her, if you do the first one and you say, hey, virtual assistant, this, that, and this have got to be on every single thing you create, then the virtual assistant can create the template so that none of those disclosures are ever missing. Okay. So lots and lots of uses for a virtual assistant. And a lot of times you can buy a block of time. So you can buy 12 hours of services and use them when you need them. It doesn't have to always be, I'm going to employ this person for 20 hours a week. So there are options. So if you're interested in virtual assistants, you can look online. There are several services, or you can reach out to me or Jess and ask about her company and what services her company provides. Transaction coordinators. Y'all, game changer for me. Okay. So Rebecca Hartley is also a real estate agent at our firm. She has Hartley Closings. She runs a transaction coordination business. Again, she has an LLC set up. When I hire her, I am hiring the LLC, just like I would hire any other LLC as a vendor to provide services to my real estate business. So again, I'm not employing her. She is not an employee. I am hiring her services just like I would a professional photographer. So what a transaction coordinator is going to do for you is they are going to be the backbone of communication for you throughout the transaction. So when I started using Rebecca a year ago, it's because, I don't know if y'all know this, I maybe have too many irons in the fire. I maybe spread myself a little thin. I know that might shock some of y'all, but in order to be able to continue to do all of the things I want to do, I had to look at all of the functions of my daily life and decide what really is necessary, that it has to be me. Listen, it's got to be my face with the buyers. It's got to be my face with the sellers. I have the negotiation skills, the historical knowledge of the market. Those are my strengths, okay? Communicating when the termite inspection is going to be does not have to be me. So a transaction coordinator is going to take some of the daily grind off of your shoulders and the communication. One of my classic areas of weakness was a week could go by and it felt like 2 days to me, but those sellers had not heard from me. So part of Rebecca's services is she every single Thursday is sending a transaction summary, like check-in email to every one of the members of our transaction. So if I have a property under contract, every Thursday, either my seller or my buyer, whichever side of the transaction I'm working, plus the settlement company closer, plus the lender, plus anyone else who is involved in the transaction, like perhaps the other agent and the other agent's transaction coordinator, they are all receiving a one-page summary report that Rebecca has drawn up. On it are all of the contract details, the closing date. There are check marks beside all of the tasks that have already happened. And indicated on that summary report are all the things still to happen. If the appraisal has taken place and been completed and come back with a big thumbs up, that's going to have a big check mark next to it. I'm telling you, everybody loves it. The lender loves it. The other agent loves it. I adore it. It makes me look totally on top of things. And I always make a point of replying to that weekly email and saying, thank you, Rebecca, you're the best. Thanks for keeping us on track. It would be easy for me to stay disengaged from that part of it, but my clients need to see that I saw that summary report. I am involved with that summary report. And I have said, hey guys, great. Looks like we're a week till closing. Can't wait to sit at the closing table with you. Okay. So she's doing the heavy lifting and I get to swoop in and be like, sweet, can't wait to get to closing. Listen, that's my idea of a helper right there. Okay. She's making me look great. She's keeping everybody's anxiety lower. And I get to come in, you know, like the hero and be like, sweet, glad I could make all this happen for all of y'all. Okay. So other things she's going to do for me, she's going to ask for a review from every single one of my clients. Now, she is intuitive enough to know that last year I had a transaction from hell. And through no fault of mine, it was a terrible transaction. My sellers were not happy, probably not going to use me again because I am painted with the same brush as that entire transaction. So she's intuitive enough that when it closed, she emailed me privately and said, hey, do you want me to ask these folks for a review? And I said, no, please do not. Like that would be salt in the wound. We just gonna let that one ride out into the sunset. And we're just gonna hope they don't leave a bad review about the entire transaction. Y'all, it was terrible. And I'm here to tell you, I've not had that experience terribly often because I am a micromanager and I get on top of all that. But in this case, couldn't have been helped. So she's intuitive enough to know, and because she's a realtor, she knows enough about the business to have some of those insights. You know, yesterday we had a termite inspection on my seller's property and they found termites and it's going to be an $800 repair, treatment. She texted me ahead of time and said, hey, I'm getting ready to send out the termite report to your clients. Just want to give you a heads up that they found termites. It's going to be an $800 treatment in case you wanted to message them first, which I loved. It let me be the deliverer of the bad news, not my transaction coordinator plopping a bad termite letter in their inbox and them going, what the hell? What? We didn't know this. We didn't know there were termites. Again, she is making sure I look like the professional. She's letting me be in charge, but she's helping me with all of the grind. Okay. And Jessie has commented in here that she is amazing. She is amazing. So a transaction coordinator is another one of those where I had to make a business decision that I will now use her on every transaction. Again, as if I did not learn from trying to determine when I was going to use a professional photographer, I was doing it case by case. And I'm telling y'all, every time I don't use her or a transaction coordinator, it bites me in the butt. Like I have a property right now that's sold, no inspections, easy peasy, going to close soon. Y'all, I didn't use her and I have worked so hard on this one. Every time it reminds me that it is worth the money. I believe currently she charges $300 per transaction, all the way from contract to closing, finishing up with reviews. She does often offer a Wainwright special where it'll be $250. So I'm telling y'all, just getting all my reviews in there has been amazing, right? Because that's obviously an area of weakness for me. I just never cycle back and ask for reviews. I should be. I know I should be, but I have to face facts that, y'all, it's been 20 years. If I've not created that habit, it's probably not happening. So it's time to outsource the things that I have had 20 years to figure out how to fit into my schedule and have not. So I'm gonna get real with myself and let somebody else do it. Okay. Any questions about virtual assistants or transaction coordinators before I get through the rest of the helpers? I'm gonna pause. I'm gonna wait for you. Anybody? Anything? Yes, Jess, please.
So basically, as working with Ashley, I represent Ashley. So what that means is I'm 100% for Ashley. So I know I just repeated myself, but anyway, basically anything that I do for her company gets approved through her first and foremost. Whether it is liking something or, on social media, for instance, posting something, whether I have an idea, I'm always representing Ashley or any other company to the best of my ability.
That is an excellent point. And you need to be clear with your virtual assistant that you must approve everything. So Jess is fantastic at at building those open house flyers, but she's going to send it to me for my approval. And I may say something like, hey, can you make the price bigger? Can you make the name larger? Can you make sure the logo's a little larger? And she's going to hop right back on there and fix that for me. And with no grief, she's not going to roll her eyes, or she understands that is me. That is my branding. That is my business. So she's wonderful about it. And Rebecca is the same way. They are not trying to outshine you. They are not trying to be anything other than support. So it has been a great experience for me. I have found a little bit of breathing room in my transactions now, which has been wonderful. And the number of times I'll get that Thursday summary report from Rebecca and I think, good God, is it Thursday? Like what? She can get to it when I'm not getting to it. So, and same with Jess. Okay, then let's go on through to bookkeepers.
Actually, I'm sorry. I had a quick question.
You may decide that you want to Jacob, did you want to add something? I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, sorry. I was going to ask something real quick so just to try to understand, like with the virtual assistant. So is she handling kind of like the social media marketing aspect as well of your business? Or is it just like, if you need flyers done, she gets the flyers, or, like if you sold a house, are you sitting say, hey, I sold this house, can you work something up for me to post up on social media or post up like, or is that kind of separate?
So
I'm guessing.
let me give you an idea of where I see more uses than I'm currently using a virtual assistant for, specifically Jess. We are slowly working our way through. So she is new to being a virtual assistant to a real estate agent, and I am new to having a virtual assistant. So we've got a little bit of a learning curve right here where I've got to decide what I want, and then she's going to act accordingly. So where I see this going, Jacob, is I think the next processes that Jess and I are going to put in place are, we've already started working on what is going to be the turnkey set of resources for when an agent wants to work an open house on one of my open houses. And it's going to be a certain set of materials that she will create and provide. And those are all going to be based off of templates. That way it's so much easier and faster for her to do it. I don't want her reinventing the wheel every single time. So we're going to have a set of templates, and it means I'm going to be very involved in the upfront. And then once we've gotten it the way I like it, and we've got those templates ready, it's going to be very fast and easy for her to do it. And my approval time is going to be, yep, looks great. And then she runs with it. I certainly, Jacob, see myself moving on to structured, scheduled social media posts, again, that I have turned into processes. If I want to showcase a local business every Thursday, that may be a project I get my virtual assistant to work on with me. And once we have the templates down and I know what I want the look to be, it'll be as easy as me once a week or once a month sending, a selfie of me at the place and the name and the contact info of the place and saying, okay, Jess, here is Thursday's local business spotlight. And then she'll churn out those materials that are based on the templates that she and I developed. So it really is about, what do you want out of your virtual assistant? I certainly can see how I could let her just go hog wild with my social media, but I also don't want to go from 0 to 60. I want to be very deliberate about how I am using my social media. I absolutely acknowledge that my social media is underused, but I also don't want to roll it all out across all the platforms super fast and really heavy and then not be able to maintain that. So I would rather take on a single project, like I'm going to have a Thursday local business spotlight, make sure I have that running for 2 or 3 months consistently, building an audience based on that. And then I might say, okay, so now I'm going to do a little planning for what my next social media campaign may be. And that is something a virtual assistant can do for you, but you're going to have to be very specific with them that you want final approval. Even if you've got it down to templates, you should still be approving those. Okay. Did that answer your question, Jacob?
Yeah. So yeah, I guess like I was in my head just kind of getting just like an idea of like what a virtual, like what all they would cover, like where would you draw the line as far as like, where you want to seek like a different resource. Like I don't want to use them as, say, look for a virtual assistant for marketing if that's not really their scope, I guess, if that's
Agreed.
but yeah.
A good virtual assistant is going to be able to give you a menu of what their services are. Jess certainly provided that to me. And almost more importantly, what software platforms and social media platforms they are proficient in.
Okay.
And that is going to be some of the questions you need to ask. What software program are you using to create social media posts? If they're using Canva or they're using some of these graphic arts style software programs, that's great. If they say something that doesn't ring true to you, that they may know the technology very well, you've got to determine, and you can always ask for samples too. Can you send me some samples of some of your social media materials? Yeah. And you can use a virtual assistant for lots and lots of things. Jess has access to my CRM. So she can go in there. She started like a drip market campaign for me with emails, she is putting them in there and saving them as drafts. Then I can go in and decide how I want to tweak the language. Her language about real estate is not going to be the same as my language about real estate. But what she's done for me is the text block is there. The headline is there. The graphic is there. And I'm able then to go in and put in my voice. But what she's done is she's gotten it primed and ready for me to step in and start doing it. So now, we're designing a drip market campaign where my past clients will get an email every so often from me, and it's going to be in my voice, but she's doing the grunt work. She's doing the part where she's setting it up and getting it ready. And then I get to kind of cruise in and do the fun parts. So, any other questions about virtual assistants, transaction coordinators? Bookkeeper is a simple one, y'all. At some point, you just may need to hire a bookkeeper 4 or 5 hours a week who's just going to make reports for you, balance your checkbook, whatever it is you need done. Okay. There are apps. There are some great apps where if you make a purchase for your real estate business, you can take a picture of the receipt. It's just going to file it away for you. There are some mileage apps you can use with your phone so that you can keep track of your mileage while you're driving. All of those things are, resources you can use to help be a little more organized. Okay. A teammate. You may choose to have a teammate. If you do, I want you to call me. Sometimes it happens organically. And when it happens organically, it's because you found a buddy and you guys are working open houses together, or you're saying, oh my gosh, I'm on vacation. Can you please go show this house for me? That's great. I have watched a lot of teams be successful. I've watched a lot of teams fall apart. 100% has to do with the personalities and what the expectations were when the team was set up. Okay. The successful teams handle it like a business. They say, look, I adore you. I cannot wait to be in business with you. Also, hey, let's sign this 3-page form with each other. Let's lay out our expectations. Let's decide who's working Sundays, how many open houses we're expecting each other to work. You have to interview each other if you're going to work as a formal team. There are also some licensing requirements, some LLC requirements if you are going to use a team name. What I have done for years and years and years is more of a buddy system instead. So Jennifer and myself, we may trade off business with each other as needed. We may cover for each other while we're on vacation. I may holler at her and say, hey, I just got a buyer call about my listing. Will you go out there and meet them and try to convert them into a buyer, try to sell them my listing? I don't want to ever do dual agency. So it is nice to have that buddy, but I'm probably not co-team member material. Listen, y'all.
We're not teammates, y'all.
We're not teammates. And I don't know that I'd be a good teammate. My 9-year-old is running for vice president of the 4th grade, and her platform is, I like to be in charge.
That's Ashley too. She gets
me.
it from her mama.
I like to be in charge. I don't know that why do y'all think I work for myself? I a little bit don't work well with others. So I know that about myself. I'm not so sure a team would be the right choice for me, but some camaraderie with another couple of agents and passing things back and forth and giving each other referrals, great. All day long, I'll do that. Also, I'll let you know that Rebecca Hartley, she also, as part of her services, if you're using her as a transaction coordinator, for an additional small fee, she'll run and show a house for you. She'll run and meet the inflow and infiltration inspector. Awesome. That's great. What can I do with that hour of my life that I'm not meeting the inflow and infiltration inspector? And is that worth the $20 or $25 she's going to charge me? Yeah, it is. It is worth that. So these are ways in which you can be a little smarter about your time. And I promise you, if you're working hard in real estate, you're going to get to that point where your time becomes more valuable than meeting the inflow and infiltration inspector. it just because you only have that many hours in the day. Okay. New agents to work open houses. This is a phenomenal symbiotic relationship. Do me a favor. You know you're going to get that listing that's terrible, and it's 8 cul-de-sacs back in some very hard to get area of town. Don't throw that on some poor new real estate agent who is anxious to work an open house and isn't going to have a single person walk through the open house. Okay. But if you have a new listing, the first weekend it is on the market is the ideal time to have an open house. Now, if you're hoping to recruit more buyer clients, work that open house. That is the single most effective way to get business quickly. Is you just need to churn out an open house every weekend or every other weekend until you have got a database of tire kickers. And now you're going to try to warm them up and turn them into clients. Okay. But if you're an agent who has transitioned from that and you're now working on referral or lead basis only, and you're just not interested in working open houses anymore, your new listings are a terrific resource for newer agents. They get to practice talking to humans. They get to practice being knowledgeable about a property. I'll never forget one of the first open houses I ever worked. I probably was asked 10 questions about the house that day. I didn't know any of those answers. I had no idea what year the roof was. I had no idea if the basement had ever had water. I had no idea any of it because I didn't even think about that. I needed to maybe talk to the listing agent and say, hey, anything I need to know about the house? Can you give me some details about when the mechanicals were upgraded? Can you give me an idea of how old the roof is? I at least need to know that the answer is we have no idea how old the roof is. I at least need to know that. So now, you know, you can give, as the listing agent, give a little tip sheet to the agent who is going to be working your open house for you. Hey, here's some cool stuff about the property. Also, the single most important thing, why did the seller buy that house? That is probably the same reason why someone else is going to buy that house. If they say, oh my gosh, because it's just 2 blocks away from the Greenway, that is important for the agent who's working your open house to tell folks as they walk in, hey guys, did you notice that this is only 2 blocks from the Greenway? Did you see that Little Green Hive, the coffee shop, is just 1 block away? You know, it's just centrally located, lots of fun stuff. That's going to help that agent when they work that open house. Now, the way it works is the listing agent is going to list it on the MLS. That's going to register it on Zillow and Realtor.com. When the listing agent registers the open house on MLS, it allows them to fill in the section of hosted by. So if you know, Rita is going to work an open house for me, I can put in there that Rita is working the open house and her contact phone number. And then that's going to go out to Zillow and Realtor.com. So I want her as the listing agent, I want her to get all those calls. I want her to work all those buyers. I am not, as the listing agent, expecting any sort of referral fee off of that. The service she's providing me is I don't have to be there from 1 to 4 on Sunday. I get to jump on the trampoline with my kids or do something that I haven't gotten to do in 20 years. So I'm not going to ask for a referral fee on any of those potential customers who walk through her open house. And a mentee, if you are a seasoned, experienced agent, having a mentor-mentee relationship with a new agent, what you're giving as the mentor is invaluable. You're giving your experience. You're letting them work an open house with you so they can see how you build rapport quickly with cold leads that walk in the door. You're letting them see how you execute a listing appointment and how you get that listing. What you're getting from them is they're going to do some work for free for you. They're going to go show a couple of houses. They're going to work a couple of open houses for you. Okay. It is absolutely a symbiotic relationship there of the mentor and the mentee. You're both giving and getting in a successful mentor-mentee relationship. And for seasoned agents, that is a helper. All right. I know we're out of time. I wanted to see if anybody has any questions.